The recording. All right. Good to see everybody. Here we go. We'll keep going. We're moving good. We're moving. I say this every time. 44. This is we're moving. We're doing good. We're doing good. My glasses broke today, so I'm a little bit I can't see. I can't focus so well. That and I had like 8 cups of coffee. We are in the middle of 44, and we're going to talk about something that actually happened to me about an hour ago. What happens if you bench? What happens if you wash for bread, you start your meal, and you forget to bench? You forget to make the Birkat HaMazon, the after blessing, you walk away. What do? So this actually happened to me this morning. I was meeting with somebody in a restaurant for breakfast. Rarely happens. I love breakfast food, by the way. I don't really care for breakfast, but I love breakfast food. I actually like it at dinner time. Okay, so I walked away, and I got back to shul, and I realized I didn't bench. When did I realize that I didn't bench? When I opened up to prepare for this class, which was incredible. I'm trying to figure out what that means, like on a deeper level. Okay, anyway, so here we go. It's customary. No, that's not what we're talking. Albar Bashar, this is it. If you neglected to recite Birkat HaMazon until the food was digested, that is when you begin to feel hungry, you can no longer recite Birkat HaMazon. Yeah, so once you fully digested your food, your stomach is clear, and everybody has a different, right? Everybody's a little bit different. If you have a fast metabolism, maybe you feel hungry right away. Like me, if you just sit around all day, then the food tends to sit there. So some are of the opinion that this time span is 1 1/5 hours, under the 72 minutes. And that's really how we all follow. If you want to know, if it's more than 72 minutes, that you didn't taste anything, you didn't drink anything, you didn't taste anything in those 72 minutes, then you've missed your opportunity to make the Birkat HaMazon. I'll just share my sins. I've done that many times. And I'm very careful about, and I've done it with some very religious people. I can tell you the first time that ever happened. Let me just tell you very quickly. I was in Ukraine for Pesach, for Passover. We led a Seder, and we were actually on our way back from the hotel that we were staying in to the Zhytomyr, whatever, going back to like one of the main cities that we were going to sleep that night. And the only thing we had to eat was matzah. It was the first year Ukraine made matzah, and the Ukrainian matzah is very good. Because Pesach is about 37 days away from, 37 days. I'll just tell you a little bit something. You'll get 2 types of matzah. There's thin matzah and there's very thick matzah. If you get the shmura matzah, that's the kind of matzah you should really get. The one that's like $1 million a pound. No, it's like whatever. It always goes up. It's like $30 a pound now, whatever. It's $25. I don't know. So there's thin ones, there's thick ones. Why are there thick matzahs? The reason for thick matzah is because they ship them across everywhere in the world. And so they don't want it to break. So they make it, Borough Park matzah is known to be, Borough Park, New York, Borough Park matzah is known to be very thick, which is gross. And I don't like it. But the reason is because they're going to ship it out. But if you buy Borough Park matzahs in Borough Park, they're very thin. Okay. Ukrainian matzahs are always made thin. So it's delicious. I love like very thin matzah. Anyway, so Ukraine had made matzah, so we had lots of matzah because it was like $3 a box, whatever. You're in Ukraine. And whatever, we woke up in the morning and that's all we were eating because we had nothing else to eat until we got to the place we had to go. We ate so much matzah and then we fell asleep in the car, and which we're going to talk about. And we woke up and I was like, oh, I didn't bench. And this very like religious guy who's a big rabbi now, he looked back at me, he smiled, he's like, it's too late, man. It was like 2 or 3 hours later, and I was shocked. I was like, never in my life, but I imagine. He's like, it'll happen more, don't worry about it. And he was right. Maybe he was only right because he said that. Just another interesting, funny, it's not such a funny story, whatever. Okay, so we'll move on. So what happens if you wait more than 72 minutes, you do not recite Birkat HaMazon. And it's a problem because it's from the Torah. Birkat HaMazon, blessing after you eat bread, is from the Torah. It's a biblical mandate. Okay, so nevertheless, at an elaborate meals, the time, I'm sorry, I can't see, I have to like hold my glasses together. The time people take between eating and Birkat HaMazon is longer than the time limit, because even during the interim, people usually drink and eat. Okay, so it's very subjective, as a lot of things in Torah. So you can, if you forget, if you're at like a long, elaborate meal, it's okay. You can allow yourself a little bit more. If you still feel full, in other words, more than 72 minutes, but you still feel full at like a simcha, it's saying you can sit down and bench. Essentially what it's saying. You can sit down and make, benching is a Yiddish word for blessing. You can sit down and make the Birkat Hamazon. But it's really about 72 minutes. Okay, if you left your place before writing Birkat Hamazon, which is what I did today, then if there's a piece of bread at the new place, eat it there. There was no bread at the new place. You need not to recite Hamotzi before eating it, because I'm basically still continuing, right? You need only recite Birkat Hamazon afterwards. If there's no bread there, you must return to the original place to recite Birkat Hamazon. Now, there's an ice storm going on, because I live in Michigan, and this happens all the time, and it was like 20 minutes away, and by the time I got back to my seat, I calculated that it's not going to be worth it, so I stayed where I was. So if you're so far away, which I gave myself leeway, then you just go to where, you can't go to return your place, just sit where you are and make Birkat Hamazon there, which is exactly what I did. Now, I want to tell you a fundamental concept in Torah. When you have a situation where, okay, we'll just read it and then I'll tell you the concept. Why do I have to? I try to do this with my kids. I'm sitting at the table and I try to share like an idea. Now, usually I don't share the example. I should just share the idea as opposed to like giving a whole background. Just share the idea and then explain afterwards. That's what I realized with my kids. On Shabbos, I'll explain the fundamental concept after I read this. On Shabbos, which is also Rosh Chodesh or Yom Tiv, so let's say Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh are the same day. That happens maybe once a year, a couple times a year. Or Shabbos Yom Tiv, right? That for sure happens. Shabbos and Yom Tiv are the same day, Yom Tiv. So, you pull out your little Birkat Hamazon, you're going to read Birkat Hamazon. What do you say first? Now, we all have a siddur, and it's very important to have a siddur, and it's very important to be familiar with your siddur. And you just follow the siddur. People get very nervous when it comes to the Haggadah. The first time they're ever leading a Passover Seder, they get very nervous. I don't know, I've never led a Passover Seder. Well, don't worry about it. Just go through the Haggadah. Just read through the Haggadah. It's step-by-step book on what to do, and you should look inside and do it. It's exactly what the siddur is. The idea is to keep you on track, that you don't have to memorize it. But let's say you don't have it in front of you, whatever. So it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, and you have to do the Birkat Hamazon, the after blessing. What do I say first in the Birkat Hamazon? Do I say the Yom Tiv? I bless the Yom Tiv, or do I bless Shabbos? So you bless the Shabbos first. Why do you bless the Shabbos first? Because Tadir Adif. Oh, the Lashon is probably right here. Oh, okay. No, it's okay. Okay, it doesn't say over here. But the language is when you have something new versus something that you can always do, you start with what you always do first. Another example, common example, is during the week, the men pray with a talis and tefillin. What do you put on first? So you put on a talis first, because you wear the talis much more often than you wear the tefillin. It's more common to wear the talis than the tefillin, because we wear the talis on Shabbos and Yom Tiv, and tefillin we don't wear on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. There's numerous examples like that. Yeah, Chana, you had a question?
No, I will ask you at the end, because it's related to the Hamotzi blessing.
Okay, sure. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now what if you forget? What if you forget to say on Shabbos, you forget to say the insert for Shabbos or Yom Tiv? So for those of you that use the blue siddur, on page 92, you'll see over there, it has the blessings for both Shabbos and Yom Tiv. So if you forget, you should try to say it before you say the last line. Uvenei Yerushalayim Kodesh b'mei Rabbi Yameinu. So Uvenei Yerushalayim Kodesh b'mei Rabbi Yameinu. You should try to say it. What if you forget and it's after? So on the next page, it has all these lines that you should say. It has all these lines that you should say. Oh, I forgot to say this. I realized after I said the Baruch Atah Hashem b'nei Barachma Yerushalayim Amen. I forgot to say something about Shabbos or Yom Tiv. So on the next page, it tells you what to do. Now, what if you forget even then? What if you're done with Birkat Hamazon and you forget to say anything for Shabbos and Yom Tiv? I hate to tell you folks, but you got to start over. You got to start over from the beginning. Now, if you forget, let me tell you something. Okay, wait. Now, What if you forget? What if, like this next part, you say the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Hakel Avinu Malkeinu Adirenu Bayrenu. If you guys know that part on page 94. So one time I forgot. One time I remember I was in Morristown, New Jersey. I was a yeshiva student there, and in Morristown they have this like little village where all the rabbis, most of the rabbis live, and that's where the kollel is. For those that want to, when they first get married, in Chabad it's 1 or 2 years. Everywhere else it's like 7, 8 years. When you're right after you get married, the first year of marriage is called Shana Rishona, your first year. It's a very important year. And typically the husband goes and he learns Torah for the year, and the wife works, to some extent. The kollel pays him as well. Like they'll pay him, let's say $1,000, or they try to cover rent at least. And the wife works and she tries to cover the food, and you live very like simply, whatever. But he studies Torah the whole day, and it brings a lot of blessing to the family. The first year is usually a little bit challenging of a year. First 2 years, because you're used to living on your own, let's say, and whatever, you're getting to know each other. Sometimes things happen. So what they try to do is you should learn Torah, and life is very simple. It's very positive, a lot of positive energy. And then so they have kollels, they're called kollels, and they're all over the world. And the Litvish are very big into kollel. Chabad also is very big into kollel, but we only do 1 or 2 years, and then they're like, they kick you out. You got to go get a job or go in shluchis, whatever. So in Morristown they have a kollel. Anyway, we're in this little village. Yeah, in there. Yeshiva's done. Yeshiva's closed. Like it was during Pesach, I think. And I stayed in the yeshiva. The dorm is open, but they don't serve food, so you have to make sure you get a meal somewhere. It's not a problem. And I remember sitting in someone's house, and I forgot. I finished the entire benching and blessing, and I forgot to say something about Shabbos. And now on Pesach, a lot of people go away because they'll go to their kids. So the Rav wasn't in town, which is kind of unique because the Rav usually stays in town. I think it was the last days of Pesach. So the last days, questions don't really come up. My luck, I have a question that came up. Most of the time, there should be no questions that come up, but I managed to find something where a question comes up. And nobody at the table knew the answer. What do I do? Should I go back? Oh, okay, wait, I'm sorry. What's the problem? Sorry if it's a little confusing. It's just, I think it'll probably hopefully it won't, but it might happen in your life, or at least someone at your table, and you should know what to do. So if you go through the benching, I should have told you guys to get a sitter, but it's fine. On page 95, you have these things called the harachamans. So harachamon huyan chilenu l'yom shekol Shabbos u'menucha chayilomim. We say like on Shabbos, we say these like little one-liners about the Shabbos or the Yom Tov. So I said that, but I didn't say the big paragraph. And I was wondering, is that enough? And I went to Rabbi Strux, Olav Shalom. He passed away. A wonderful guy. And I clearly woke him up from his nap, I remember. And I said, what do I do? It's not in Shulchan Aruch. It doesn't say, like, if you say that part, but I didn't say the big paragraph, what do I do? And he said to me, yeah, that's good. That's all you have to do. Anyway, so that was that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but it doesn't mention it in Shulchan Aruch. So if you manage to just mess up the big paragraph, but not the little paragraph, then I think it's okay. I'm going to follow what Rabbi Strux said. He was a very smart man. I had to give you that whole story. Why did I have to give the story? Well, I had to explain what kollel was. Morristown, New Jersey. You didn't know there were little Hasidic villages in New Jersey, did you? Okay, so here, that's what it talks about. Okay, now this is basically what I told you. We don't have to go into it, but I want to tell you something. For a man, if you're not sure, what happens if there's a situation where you're not sure whether you said Birkat Hamazon or not? That happens. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. You're done. Basically, you were eating, and then you hang around the table. In my family, in my house, my parents, we used to just hang, like after we ate dinner. When we were older, especially at a restaurant, we would sit there for like an hour. My father's like, I don't want to get up right away. My father's in great shape. He takes judo. He's like, he's like a black belt in judo. He started when he was like 50. So he's in good shape, but he's like, I like to just sit and let it. So after like an hour, you might think to yourself, it might just dawn on you, like, did I daven or did I not? I don't know if I did Birkat Hamazon. And Birkat Hamazon is a mitzvah from the Torah. But there's also this concept of we don't say a blessing in vain. When in doubt, you do without. Yeah, you do without Hashem's name. So if you're unsure whether you make a blessing or not, you don't make another blessing. However, Birkat Hamazon is a mitzvah d'oraisa. It's from the Torah. So actually, you do go back. If you're not sure whether you did it or not, you do go back. Unless you're a woman. A woman does not go back. She does not have to go back because it's a question of whether she really has to say the Birkat Hamazon, and it's a doubt. There's a doubt, and so she doesn't do it. It could be rabbinic, and therefore certain parts of it is rabbinic, and we don't want her to say Hashem's name, so she doesn't go back. What if you fall asleep? What if you fall asleep in the middle of the Birkat Hamazon? And when does that happen? Once again, Pesach. Pesach is very common for people to fall asleep in the middle of the Seudah. I know because I've seen it happen, not to myself, but to other people. You eat a lot of matzah, you drink a lot of wine, and you have a big meal. You got to eat a meal. By the time the benching comes along, you'll be very, very tired, especially if the wine is a little bit heavy. You also start very late. You start at 9 o'clock over here in Michigan. We start at like 8:30, 8:45. It's pretty late. So what do you do? So if you're a man, you're not sure, you start over from the beginning, obviously. Like if you're in the middle, you wake up, you fall asleep, like, I don't know if I finished or not. You have to start over. If you're a woman, you don't. I had a friend, one Pesach Seder, he fell asleep. He was benching, he was saying the blessings with his, he was following along. He used his finger to say each word. It's a Hasidic thing to do. You should point to each word before you say it. It helps with kavanah. It's very hard to do, but it really does work. And he's a very Hasidic guy. He fell asleep for about an hour, then he woke up, and his finger was exactly where it left off, and he just continued on. So he didn't have to worry about that. It's a very new trick. One year during COVID, my wife fell asleep, which was hilarious. We were both laughing. Okay, let's. Okay, I'm not going to get into so many details because I don't want to get into the details of it because it's in the siddur. Yeah, you make a mistake. The siddur tells you exactly what to do. I'll tell you a little something. When you get smicha, you should all get smicha. Well, the men mainly, but the women have to know halacha as well. They really have to know halacha very well. It's more than the men because it has to do with the kitchen. Whatever. You have to know halacha. Everyone has to know a lot of halacha. What was I going to say? Women, halacha. What was I talking? What was I about to say? I'm sorry. When you get smicha, when you take the exam to get rabbinical ordination in Chabad, they don't want to see if you know it by heart. So if they'll ask you a question, it's usually a very open-ended question, like tell me about min b'minoi. If two types of meat, one is questionable, one's like a non-kosher piece of steak and a kosher piece of steak become mixed together in a pot. What do it's called min b'minoi, whatever. Tell me about it. Explain to me the different opinions. Now, they don't want you to answer it by heart. You don't get very many points for answering it by heart. They want you to turn to the page. They want you to know where to look because you're not going to always remember. I'll remember now. I know it by heart now because I've been studying for this exam. But you have to know where to look. That's the most important thing, just to know where to look for the answer. And you get full credit if you're able to point to where the answer is. Even if you don't even say the answer and you point and you're like, it's around this page, in Chabad especially, they'll give you a point. They're very proud. They're very happy when you know that. So I don't need to go into all the details of the exact. When you mess up, you just know where to look. Where do you look in the siddur? In the siddur itself, it'll tell you where to look. Okay, I don't need to say all this. It's just more and more. Okay, here we go. On Chanukah and Purim, because these are rabbinic, and Chanukah and Purim, if you forget to say Al Hanissim, and you didn't remember until after you said Hashem's name, at the conclusion of the bracha Noida, you don't repeat Birkat Hamazon. 1 second. Because by the Harachamans, you should say, the Harachaman is that little added place. Yeah, that one-liner. If you can say one of those one-liners, this is the idea. From my rabbi, he's not really my rabbi, but he told me as long as you say one of those one-liners on page 92, you're good to go. You're going to mention what you need to do. So when it comes to Purim, for those of you that say a lot of l'chaim on Purim, you don't remember what to do. This is what you do. Just say as much as you can. Just say whatever you can. Okay, what if? Okay, this is a big thing, by the way. What if in the middle of Birkat Hamazon, it's about to be mincha time? This happened. I remember in Yeshiva, Rabbi Levinger was Farbrengen. It was a big Farbrengen. Started at 12 o'clock, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. It was like in the summer, and it was about to be mincha time. We were about to miss mincha. So should you bench Birkat Hamazon, or should you go down in mincha? And he said, leave everything on the table the way it is. Everybody get up. We're going to go down in Birkat Hamazon. We're going to go pray the mincha, and we're going to come back. So you do get up. You do go up, you pray, and then you come back. It's a big problem to get up and walk around, as we said. You shouldn't get up in the middle of your meal and try to go do something else, because you get distracted, you'll forget. But it's okay. In the case of you're about to miss mincha, you should go and pray and come back. Okay, here we go. If there's a non-Jew in the house when you're reciting Birkat Hamazon, okay, so I want to show you something. If you look, there's an asterisk in the Birkat Hamazon. You might not have noticed, but one second, and we'll conclude here after I say it. Wait, Harachaman. Where is it? 1 second. Where is it? Rachman Yimachalenu, Rachman Yimachalenu, Rachman Yishlav, Rachman. Why can't I find it? I just kind of like know it. Okay, whatever. There's a line over there. If there's non-Jews at the table, there's actually a line. You're blessing everybody at the table. Yeah, we're blessing the people who own the house. We're blessing the people who fed us, and we're blessing everybody at the table. So you switch the line a little bit. The regular line has to do with benching the Jewish people at the table, but if there's also non-Jewish people at the table, which is also often the case at my table, you say kulanu b'bnei bris. You say this, whatever, it's in the parentheses. I just can't find it for the moment. You should say, I bless everybody who's part of the covenant. Whatever. If you see
Isn't that just a person who is going through Kitzur? Not just any Gentile?
I think it's any Gentile, no? That what?
Because B'nai Brit is what happens when you have a Brit Milah. Like that period between Brit Milah and the mikvah. That's called B'nai Brit.
Oh, that person is called the B'nai Bris? Well, I think,
because he's not Jewish yet.
Yeah, but I think this has to do with the people who are, like you say in Mincha, it's only given to the people who belong to the Bris. Not Mincha.
So they would.
No, when do we say that? We say that on Shabbos.
Yeah, on
Covenant.
Shabbos.
Children of the covenant.
Children of the covenant. Right, exactly.
So it would either have to be. Well, I don't know, because what would just a Noahide be?
I mean, a Noahide is considered a Gentile.
Yeah, but is he?
Right, but I think
I don't think he's a Ben Bris.
No.
Ben Bris is
That's
the
interesting.
mitzvah.
I think-
The mitzvah.
So,
Huh?
Rabbi, is the mitzvah here, are you trying to imply that the mitzvah here should be to bless the children of the covenant?
Yes.
You mentioned that only when you have also non-Jewish or Bnei Noahide on the table, but because you're saying mitzvah per Torah, you have to include that. But if you have all Jewish people, you don't have to include that part. Correct?
Well, you just can you switch the language. I can't find it, and I don't want to keep everybody on.
It's 94. It's
94?
page 94 in Blue Siddur. I'm looking at it. It
Okay,
says,
where is it?
bless our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's page 94, right like towards the end of the page. It's right above the paragraph from heaven.
Yeah, exactly. You only say B'nai Bris, right? When there's non-Jewish people at the table, then you say you you replace osanu with b'nei bris. You replace the word
Right.
otanu with b'nei bris. Otanu means
Right.
all of us, and then we get specific. The b'nei bris.
Right.
We're specifically exactly. We're specifically. So any non-Jew. I don't think it's. I don't think it. Noahide doesn't discriminate.
No, I know, but you're saying when there is no one from like if the table is only of
Yeah.
of
Oh, you
their
skip b'nei
Jewish-
bris. You skip it.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Then you can say all of us together. But
Correct.
if you have a 2 or 1 guest, like I don't know who are not Jewish yet, then you have to specify the children of the covenant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can tell you that I've never done that, but
I don't.
I
for
just
some
don't
reason,
like.
I
Who,
always
I don't know.
include
Even,
it.
I don't even know anybody who does it. Like I know one guy. I think that who did that. I don't know. I've
I
listened
do
to
it all the
rabbis, they're
time.
like,
I always thought you have to include this. Even when I was I wasn't gone through mikvah yet. I always said only the children of the covenant because I knew I don't know. I always included it. Anyways.
I have to ask Rabbi Silverberg if he. I bet you he's gonna be like, I don't like he just find these things that I don't know. No, traditionally we haven't done it, but yeah, that's what it is. Okay, wait. Did you have a question earlier?
Yes, I did. So there's this question came up. Remember, in last week's chapters, we were discussing, for example, when you say hamotzi, typically it includes all of the beverages and drinks as well, like water, tea, whatever satisfies the hunger and thirst.
Except for wine.
But then what if except for wine. So, but you didn't have wine. So now you had hamotzi. You included all the regular drinks and beverages.
Yeah.
But then in the middle, you're in a restaurant, and then in the middle of the dinner, you decided to have a liquor, like a cocktail liquor.
Yeah.
Do you say separate shahakol upon it because it's whiskey or rum?
No, it brought it up.
And
no,
this
we don't do it. You just drink it.
How about that? Because I know some Sephardi's they do shahakol because it's like a questionable item.
It says in Shulchan Aruch.
It
says in Shulchan Aruch to do that. That some do that and some don't. We don't do it. Exactly.
Chabad doesn't do it.
Chabad doesn't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Good question.
Is it in Alter Rebbe's Shulchan as well?
I don't know. It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
It's funny because I was on a date in a restaurant and I'm like, okay, I want because I'm not like cocktails and whiskeys and they're not like part of to regular drinks on the table. So it's not set to satisfy hunger or thirst.
Right.
So I went with my Sephardi friends and I just said it. And this Chabad guy said, no, we don't do it.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I got to ask.
yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, but he didn't do anything wrong because there's an opinion in Shulchan Aruch, but
right.
But we don't. Yeah, we don't follow it.
Okay, and have you figured out about the coffee part? Like, if Rabbi already said the kiddush for coffee, and I don't eat bread, I just go straight for coffee. Do I say? Does Hagafen include the coffee? Like covers the coffee, or because in Shulchan Aruch we discussed that at the end when you drink coffee as part of dessert, or at the end to digest your food, you should say separate shachakol over it.
Yeah, do you go straight? You went straight for a coffee? Do you drink? I didn't ask Rabbi Silverberg. He was just in here. I can ask him. I'll go ask him.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. If there's no more questions, thanks a lot, and we'll speak later.
Yes.
See you guys.
Bye.